excited. I have Mike Ciorrocco with me. Mike is the co-founder of Blooprinted. Very cool new tech idea. Best-selling author of Rocket Fuel, Convert Setbacks, Become Unstoppable, and the powerhouse behind What Are You Made Of podcast, as well as the 10X Tech Incubator. I'm Rebecca Cramer, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today on She Hustles. Mike, thank you so much for being here.
Rebecca, thanks for having me, giving me the honor and opportunity to share my story and what we have going on with everyone.
Of course, of course. So I don't know if my introduction was okay or if there was anything that I left out. It seems like you have a lot going on, that you're doing some really great things.
Yeah, no, I think you've got it. I mean, I'm a father and husband. I have a mortgage division that I run with three best friends as well. I have the podcast, What Are You Made Of? A lot of things going on. And we also have another tech company coming out behind the ones that you already mentioned, but I'll share that later.
Oh, I'm excited. That's fun. So you have a lot going on. You have seen lots of success with a lot of things that you've been doing lately, but I think, people wonder how would you get to this point? So I want to ask you to think back to, like, before all of this, before you made it this far, before you were this successful, that you're partnering with billionaires. Can you take us back to when C-Roc was younger? Like, how did you get started with this entrepreneur thing?
Yeah. So first of all, are you asking me what am I made of?
I think I think that actually might be written down here for as a question that I have. Yes, tell
Yeah,
us.
yeah, and it's written on the wall behind me in case you forgot. Yeah, no, I came from a broken home. I don't remember my parents together growing up, and I remember a lot of conflict and a lot of broken people, a lot of brokenness, a lot of fighting, and whether it was drug abuse, depression, anxiety, suicide, abuse, all different things that I've witnessed as a kid growing up and experienced. I just started realizing and watching and observing people were telling themselves a story of why they were doing that. They would tell themselves like all this BS that I would never buy in as a kid. I was just like, I was on to them. They would buy the BS that they were telling themselves, but I wasn't. And I started to realize at a young age that whatever story you tell yourself is the life you're going to have. Because, Rebecca, we really don't know what the truth is. None of us do. But what we do know is that we can tell ourselves whatever we believe, and that's what we can live with. So you might as well tell yourself a story that's a winning story, success story. So as a young kid, I realized that, and I just started telling myself stories of why I was going to be successful. And at a young age, my parents split up, like I said, and I did the every other weekend thing and custody battle thing and all that with my parents. And when I was 8, I decided to move in with my dad after living with my mom until that point. My mom was moving on to her third marriage, and I didn't want to learn another man's rules and move into another man's house who I didn't even know. And so I tried my dad's house out, and he was on to his second marriage. And in doing that, I put myself in a position of abuse because my stepmother and my mom were having conflicts. There was fighting going on, and a lot of it was taken out on us kids, and especially me. So I just remember used to sleep with my baseball bat when I was 9 years old because of some of the things I was seeing and hearing. And eventually, at some point, I realized that wasn't normal. Like at first, it was like this is the life you have to live. But I realized afterwards that it's not a normal thing to be in an abusive situation. It's something that you can get out of. You have a choice, and some people don't realize that they do. But everybody has a choice, no matter what age. Like once you start talking, you have a choice. You could talk and tell and communicate to people. So I started realizing I could do that. And I talked to my mom and I said, "Hey, listen, this is what's going on." I didn't know if she was going to believe me. I didn't know, what was going to happen to my abuser. I didn't know. And it was a lot of parts that were scared and with the reasons that I held things back. But she was appalled. And she said, "You know what? Nobody should live like that. I'm going to file court papers to get you out of there. But if I do, Mikey," they called me Mikey back then. "Mikey, you have to stick to your guns because I'm going to go to the courts and you can't leave me hanging out to dry. And they're going to talk you out of this. They're going to try to. So in life, when you believe in something, you got to stick to your guns, because there's going to be people with other agendas that are going to try to talk you out, or if they're going to feel threatened with you if you're doing well. So I just remembered her saying that, and my dad got the court papers finally delivered one day when I came home from school after waiting for weeks, and the tension in the house was very thick. I could feel it as soon as I walked in, and my dad had these papers in his hand, and he sent me to my room. And my dad was my hero. He was a mason, like laid brick and block and concrete, and very successful business. If you shook his hands, you could tell how hard of a worker he was. Real rough hands and big forearms from carrying bricks all the time. And he was my hero. I mean, my dad was my hero. I always couldn't wait to go to his house on the weekends when I lived with my mom. And he was such a hard worker. And he always had this wad of $100 bills in his pocket, which was cool because Italians don't carry wallets most of the time. We carry wads with rubber bands around it. And he used to show these $100 bills all the time to us, which I thought was cool. And when he confirmed with this paper, this court document that I wanted to move back with my mom, I didn't get into a discussion with him. He said, "I can't understand why you would do this. We had everything you need here. Your mom has men coming in and out of her house every other day, and you want to go into that environment?" And I said, "I'm not discussing. I made up my mind. I stuck to my guns." He said, "Okay." So he takes the wad of $100 bills out. He peeled one off. He crumpled it up, and he threw it at me. And he said, "Here, you're going to need this then when you're living on the streets with your mother one day." And Rebecca, at that moment, the first thing that went through my head was, "Oh no, what did I do? Like, what did I just do?" And I think what's cool about this is that, and abusers go through this, you'll notice, and if you hear stories, sometimes they think it's their fault. I think you got to switch that. I think you got to say it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility that you're going through that. And it may sound crazy to many, but responsibility gives you control. And to the degree you give up responsibility, you give up control. And so at a young age, for some reason, I had a high level of responsibility. And I felt like, man, what did I do? Like put this up, I put myself in this situation. But then right after that, I also thought, okay, I can get myself out of this situation and I'm not going to need that freaking money. And so for 30 some years, from 10 years old till 40 something, I've been driving off this factor that I'm not going to let my dad win.
Wow. That's a really young age to be. So, I mean, it's not responsible necessarily. I mean, of course it's responsible, but to have to make those decisions and take action, like I can't even imagine what you must have been thinking, feeling for a kid that old. Like, wow, that's
Yeah, thanks. And I think that one thing I was thinking about this as we're talking, I go back into this every time I tell the story and just try to get other little nuggets. But I think kids are more resilient than we think. I think kids can handle more than we think. And I think that if we give kids opportunities to be in situations where they have to make decisions and take control and be responsible, that they're going to be better off and they're going to be like superhumans. Because honestly, I'm not afraid to say this, a lot of people aren't as bold as I am, and I believe this. So I'll just say it like it is. I feel like I have superhuman powers because of the fact of the things that I've been through and the experiences that I had at a young age. And I think everybody that has the opportunity at a young age, don't get me wrong, it's nice to be in a loving family and supportive and all that. Don't get me wrong. I think that's important. But to put yourself in a difficult situation and be able to get out of it and handle it, it's a confidence builder in a way too.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think kids should have responsibilities to make decisions. But it sounds like in that circumstance, you didn't have to make that decision. Nobody was enforcing that responsibility onto you, which I mean is just the same, not just the same, but when you look at, small business owners, entrepreneurs, like they don't have to make decisions to keep going. They don't have to make decisions to adjust or pivot the things that are happening to them. They could just let that continue to happen. But the fact that you at such a young age, like how has that impacted everything else when it comes to decision making? Because I can only imagine as an 8-year-old, 10-year-old that was like the biggest decision, and you probably thought a couple times about, oh, I wish I didn't make that when you were in the process.
Yeah, how it's affected me now is that I make decisions very quickly now, and
Mm,
I'm confident in decisions that I make. And I don't really, I believe that if you have a decision to make and you have the answer, like, and you're leaning a certain way, just go for it, commit. And so I do it quickly because I feel like opportunities don't always last. But I
mm,
also think that if it's a situation where it's a decision that has to be made and it's a quote unquote tough decision, you rip the band-aid off and you get it over with, so you're not stressing about it
yeah.
for a long period of time. So I think that's what's helped me do. And now I help other people, man. My job now and my mission is all people are unstoppable to live in the life of their dreams. And so I live everything through that. My words, thoughts, actions, the people that I keep around me, my environment is all shaped to serve that mission. And that's what it's allowed me to do as well.
Wow. If you were gonna, so the fact that you had to go through what you had to go through, if you had a message for parents, because you also messaged, or you also said it's, nice for kids to grow up in a home that's safe and loving. What about the parents who are wanting to help their kids into that? Like, do you think you could have gotten where you are right now without having to make that hard decision?
Yeah, I mean, I think I could have, but I don't think that I would be built as strong as I am
Yeah.
from it. But as far as parents go, look, one thing I always do when I wake up in the morning is realize that my kids are watching me.
Mhm.
My wife is watching me. I feel like I have eyes on me. When I'm by myself, I feel like there's somebody watching me, and that keeps me understanding that I got to do things the right way. Because when if I do something, um, I basically the way I view it is that if you do something and you're not doing things the right way, it gives everybody else an excuse that saw you to not reach their potential. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? So
Absolutely.
if I see somebody not giving their all at the office, then I can say, well, Joe's not giving his all. So why should I give my all? Or if I don't give my all, I can just say, well, Joe's not giving his all. And it gives you an excuse to fail. It's an
Yeah.
excuse not to go for your potential. So I don't want to be that excuse for anyone. So I don't think, parents, they should pay attention to that. Like, don't be the excuse somebody doesn't go after the potential. Don't be the reason or the story somebody has that they can use to tell themselves for not achieving. And if you live your life that way, just can imagine like everything you do is to be a role model and to avoid giving somebody the reason to be not successful.
It is an amazing story. I think that even right now, well, that's probably especially right now, there are probably people who might have been through similar experiences to you, maybe worse, maybe not as bad, who have a reason or a valid reason or a valid excuse to not be where you are right now. What would you say to someone who sees where you are and just feels like I couldn't do that because I have this other
Well,
stuff.
well, I would tell them to watch the story that they're telling themselves. Remember, the broken people that I was around were always having a story to tell themselves of why they were where they were. And that story kept true as long as they kept saying it. And see, our subconscious minds are built to make our subconscious mind's kind of stupid. It's dumb. It doesn't know right from wrong. It just knows that whenever you say something or think something, it's got to prove it right. It's got to validate what you say. So
Yeah.
if you say, man, it's hard, or I could never do that, well, guess what? You're right. That's what your subconscious mind says. And it'll do everything to prove it right. So what I would say to someone like that is just watch the story, tell yourself, and change the story. It's not woo-woo stuff. It's real. When you say, I got this, I have an opportunity to grow here, instead of saying, man, this is difficult, it's hard. So that's what I would say to that, Rebecca. I mean, I think it's very important for people to pay attention to the words that they speak.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, after your childhood, you went and lived with your mom, and you started a business, or did you? What did you do first?
Well, I mean, I went there and I obviously went to school and played football and went to college and played football. And then I got into the restaurant business. I watched Cocktail when I was in college. And I
Yeah.
thought, man, Tom Cruise can do it. I'll go to a Caribbean island and bartend, start in a restaurant. But of course, what I noticed in the restaurant business is there's a lot of, it's a cash business. It's easy to spend. But not only that, there's a lot of people that are into drugs and alcohol. And I got sucked up into it. And then so
Mhm.
then I became one of those people. And for a period of time, I was miserable. And I eventually got out and went into an in-home sales company where I worked for 9 years, going in homes, selling products that were for cleaning the water for the homes, like water treatment systems,
Mhm.
and $5,000 to $7,000 a pop. Did that for 9 years and really cut my teeth in the sales game and understanding how to close deals and how to present and how to handle objections, build rapport, all that jazz. And from there, I got into real estate and then mortgages back in 2005 and six. And for 13, well, 2005, six, how many years is that now? Yeah, 13 years,
Wow.
six, no, 15 years. 15 years now. I've been in the mortgage in real estate space. But 2 years ago, I realized that, wait a minute, this is not the game I should be playing. I'm designed to play something bigger. I don't know what it is, but something bigger is calling me. And I decided to start speaking and do a podcast. And the What Are You Made Of podcast was born because I wanted to share people's stories of the journey to success, which is often invisible, Rebecca. And
Mhm.
I started telling my story on there, and I started sharing other people's stories. And I realized that people were really getting a lot out of it because people were connecting with these folks and really getting, you know, a, a use out of somebody sharing their journey. And then from there, I met some great people. Like the podcast world, as you know, it just opens you up to so many different people, build relationships. And then that's how we got into tech.
Very cool. So Blueprint, what I guess what made you decide to go that direction, and how did you get started?
So I ran into a guy in part of my prospecting game when I send a lot of messages out to people, connecting with people and introducing myself and trying to set up 15-minute connection calls. And I
Mhm.
ran into a guy named Jared Yellen, who is a successful tech founder. And he was looking to do something bigger as well, the new game, bigger game. And he had set this vision that he was going to get other people to co-found tech companies with him that had tech ideas, and he was going to build, scale, and sell 10,000 tech companies in 10 years. And it's a big mission, right? Big dreams. And I just thought he was crazy, but I loved it and I wanted to be a part of it. And I said, well, how do I become a tech co-founder? And he said, well, what are you doing now? And he basically kind of interviewed me in a way and asked me questions about what I'm into and what my mission is. And he's like, let's put something together, man. Let's build people. Because I always
Mhm.
looked at myself as a people builder.
Yeah.
And we came up with this idea of Blooprinted because all my life, Rebecca, when I want something, I go get it. When I want something in life, like I set my sights on it and I don't care if I don't know how to do it. I don't care how much money it costs, how much time. I go after it, right? But I didn't know how to do things. Like I didn't know the steps. And I look back at my life when I was talking to him and I'm like, dude, if I just had the exact steps to achieve something when I wanted to achieve something, I mean, who knows where I would be right now? What would that have meant to me and the people that were around me and that depended on me? Financially, where would I be? Like accomplishments, how much further along would I be? And so I figured, you know what? Instead of complaining and being regretful about it, why don't we create a marketplace where people can go and they can search different topics, industries, different fields, parenting. I mean, things like business, real estate, health, gardening, travel, parenting, social media, marketing, podcasting, writing books, home and garden. I mean, all these different ideas that people know how to do things. And
Mhm.
what if we had a marketplace where people put the step by step process to achieve any of these things? And people could go in there and search and buy those and then go follow the steps and they could have similar outcomes or better. And so that's what we did. We created Blooprinted. We just stand firmly against people making money like marketing speakers or coaches or consultants and trainers and not getting results for their clients. And we found the reason is this was missing, Blooprinted.
That's so basically it's like step-by-step instructions for success.
Yeah. So, for example, if you had the Food Network, you were watching the Food Network, and you were watching this celebrity chef cook this meal, the 7-course meal. And if you got through the show, which if you think about most course platforms, most people don't finish courses.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got through the course or the TV show, and then you went to your kitchen and tried to make the same thing, how much success would you have? Versus if I were to say, listen, I'm going to give you a list of things you're going to need. I'm going to tell you each thing, where exactly to find it, where to shop for it, how much it costs, what the brand is, and then what to do with it when you're done, when you got the list and you got all the stuff, what exactly to do, what's the steps, where do I start? And if I gave you that recipe or blueprinted, you'd have a lot more success than just watching the Food Network.
Yeah. Especially if somebody else has already done it and it works.
Exactly. And you know, if the other thing is granular is important, because let's say you were a cave woman and I said, Rebecca, I want to teach you how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And you're like, okay, I don't even know what that is. I don't know what peanut butter is, but I got to tell you how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, if I put the peanut butter and jelly even in front of you and a loaf of bread and a plate, and I said, first thing you do is take a piece of bread and you put the peanut butter on the bread. What would be the first thing you do when I tell you that?
Well, maybe if I had no idea, I would say, which one's the peanut butter, which one's the bread?
Right. So I'd have to describe exactly what you're doing and dumb it down for the cave person, right? Like really dumb it down. Because if I don't even tell them about the knife, like what didn't tell them about the butter knife, they might stick their hand in the peanut butter.
Yeah.
So this is the problem that we see with coaching, consulting, and training. And so this is the most innovative product in the last 40 years in the personal professional consulting training vertical. And that's why I'm so fired up about this and getting people into the platform now. It's just what we're doing right now, Rebecca. We're getting our first 100 creators, the people that know how to do something, and we're working with them to build their blueprints, and we're going to get them into the system. This thing's work in tech. You want to get to your first 1,000 users in a platform as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. So if I get, well, I'm not going to say if because I got them. When you get to 100, those 100 conservatively are going to bring at least 10 people each in. That's 1,000 right there. Now, not conservatively, if they bring more, great. But then those 10 people that they bring in are going to definitely bring, on average, conservatively 10 people. Now you're not at 1,000, you're at 10,000, and you can get to 1 million users very easily. I wouldn't say easy because there's some work that goes into it, but very, very realistically.
Yeah. So when it comes to promoting yourself and promoting these new business opportunities that you have, I know that you've been successful doing that with everything else that you've done. And I think that that's something that people do struggle with is the connection. You told us this story. You said that you talk to other people who also have a story, who maybe don't. There's people in the world. I mean, I talk to people who I'm like, just be authentic. There are people who will connect with you. How do you think that's benefited you, whether it's with Blooprinted or anything else that you've done, being able to actually tell your story so that people can connect with you?
Yeah, telling your story, as ordinary as it may be, as embarrassing as it may be, is so imperative. Because no matter what it is, and the more ordinary, the better, because more people will relate to it. But when I tell the story, people are like, either they've been through it, something similar, or they know somebody that's been through it, so they can relate to it. And then from there, I really like getting people to share their story with me. And I really like getting people to share their vision and goals with me for the future. Because I'm very, very obsessed with causing and creating futures for people. I've been trained very well by my coach, shout out to Rich Dolan, on causing and creating futures for people. Because most people don't intentionally set out to cause and create their own future. They just kind of drift. They go along with the flow and whatever comes. And they're deciding this. They don't realize it. They're actually deciding to be average or mediocre, or they're deciding on whatever they get. They're responsible for wherever they end up. But when you can cause and create futures for people after they share their vision for the future and what they would want in their ideal life, and you help them become unstoppable to doing that, it creates an attraction model. So what I love to do, Rebecca, is I love to meet people in person, but I also like to do Zoom calls. Like reach out to people on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook. And I will just reach out to them and let them know, listen, I want to connect with you to learn more about you. And I want to do a 15-minute connection call. Here's my link, schedule it, because I'm really looking forward to meeting you and hearing about what you've been through and what your vision for the future is. And very rarely somebody says no. And then when I get on that call, I'm all talking about all about them and what their vision for the future is. So that when I present my story to them, I can share what I can do to help and what I can do to support them. Very important to understand that when you can cause and create futures intentionally for yourself and then others, it creates an attraction model.
And I think asking questions first so that you could understand them instead of just telling them all about yourself and what you can do allows you to tell your story adapted to what their needs are. So
Yeah, I mean, and again, but it is important to understand that it's ethical. Like you're trying to do something to elevate somebody else
absolutely.
and create them to be unstoppable at living the life of their dreams.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you about the tech incubator, the 10X tech incubator. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So that what I mentioned about the 10,000 tech companies that Jared Yellen wanted to accomplish, and I
Yeah.
jumped on board with, I wanted to see how could we elevate it and move it faster. And that idea popped into my head since I was involved with the 10X community, being a customer and a client of theirs, and then a friend of all the people that work there. I introduced Jared Yellen to the 10X community and they hit it off. And then they created the 10X incubator, where basically the 10X side is the promotion arm of all the tech companies and the incubator. And what we do is we go around and we find people that have tech ideas, even on a napkin, like just an idea written down. Like, man, we're sitting around having coffee and we're like, wouldn't it be cool if I could, I don't know, wouldn't it be cool if we had a blueprinted, whatever the idea is. And we test that idea out. And if it's a valid idea that has a great person behind it, there's a market for it, but it's not a super highly competitive market for it. And there's a way to cash flow it pretty quickly with a minimal viable product. We co-found the company with those folks and we provide all the foundation that they need that most people don't have access to: funding, development, go to market, legal, accounting, management, administration, so on and so on. And that's provided in the incubator. So we co-founded with a co-founder and provide them with all those. They become the face of the company that they create, and we go and build, scale, and sell it.
And that most of these people would probably never have this opportunity. It would probably
Exactly.
say an idea on a napkin.
Exactly. So there's absolutely 100%, and that's why we do it. And then there's some companies that have a company already, and it might be cash flowing, or they have an MVP, but they just need some of the things that we offer, and so we do that as well. But there's tons of people that would have never had the opportunity, myself included, to do something in tech without this opportunity, and this has not been done before. Most incubators will just give somebody financial support or mentorship for 3 to 6 months and then turn them on their way. And this is not that case. This is co-foundership. So we're in it together. Our values and mission are aligned, and our motivations are aligned. And one other thing I was thinking about with this is that when we tell this story to some people, they don't have a tech idea, but they're like, how can I get involved? I don't really have money to invest right now. I don't have a tech idea, but how can I be involved and support this mission? Well, we are doing something right now that's unbelievable. And actually, right after Thanksgiving with the Black Friday sale, we're having a Black Friday sale. And there is a thing called a 10X Tech Insider. It's a program that's available. If you go to 10xtechinsider.com, check it out. And if you go there, you can sign up and get a lifetime access to be a 10X Tech incubator for the same cost it is for 1 year membership. So usually after this is the last time we're going to do this. It's $100 and some odd dollars. I don't know the exact amount. I want to say $997, but it's for a whole year membership usually. Black Friday right now, they're doing it for lifetime. And you actually will get a little black card, 10X Tech Insider card, and you'll have access to all of our tech products at big discounts, and also first access to test any of the tech products as well.
So we'll make sure that we include that link
Let me check and make sure
below,
that link's right while we're talking here, but go ahead.
10xtechinsider.com. And then also we'll make sure that we share the Blooprinted, because Blooprinted is actually spelled a little bit differently than we might
Yeah.
expect. It has two O's in the middle.
Yeah. So Blooprinted is BLOO printed. BL printed. And the reason for that, if you look at that, there's the LOO is 100, right? It looks like 100 in the logo. And that 100 is what we're always talking about in our businesses, is that we want to take 100% responsibility. We want to take 100% responsibility for getting results for people. And that means something. So that's why we put that in there and spelled Blueprinted a little differently.
So if someone was like, they're just at the beginning of coming up with an idea, they're maybe not ready to reach out to you, or whatever your process is for or applying to become a part of this. What would you say would be some absolutely necessary things that they do before they would apply, or before they would try to get involved?
So with a tech idea or for Blueprinted?
Yeah, with the tech idea.
For a tech idea, man, write your ideas down. Like, have a notebook with you at all times and write your ideas down. And then as you have different ideas, if you have different ones, basically what you're looking for is inefficiencies throughout your life. If you're in a certain profession, like I was in the mortgage business before, what inefficiencies are we dealing with? What can we fix? Because tech can pretty much fix any inefficiencies. If you're we have a farming tech. So if there's a farmer and they're trying to figure out how to keep their bills in check and their crop and all this. I'm not a farmer, so but if there was a problem there and they can make their life easier for farmers all around the world, we could create tech for that. So look for inefficiencies and then write it down. And then when you have ideas regarding it, keep writing things down so you don't forget them. That's the first step. Okay. Secondly, don't ever wait to reach out. You're always ready. If you have an idea, reach out. And so that's, and everybody can DM me if they want on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's Mikey C-Roc on Instagram, MIKEYCROC. And that's the best way to do it, man. I mean, and it's as simple as that.
So that basically encompasses also Blooprinted, which is kind of cool that you have both businesses so interwoven. So this is She Hustles, and I wanted to ask you, what does the word hustle or hustling, what does that mean to you?
So my dad always used to say this to me back in the day, and he was a bricklayer, and he used to say he used to count the money as he was laying brick. So if you're looking back here at these bricks, every time he lay a brick, he would see the dollars, or he knew how much dollars each brick represented, and he would just think about that. That's what kept him motivated. But he always told me something. When you do a job, you do it right first, and you do it fast second. And he used to always tell me, hustle, 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 let's go, hustle. So to me, hustle means to move fast, but do it right while you're doing it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be right.
Yeah.
And that's what it means to me.
That's awesome. So you have a podcast, and I want to ask you if there was a favorite question that you ask consistently, or maybe one that you feel like would be appropriate. What would be one question that I would ask to you that's something that you ask normally?
I think I always ask questions on the wall right there. What are you made of? That's how we open the show every time, and then I dig deeper into whatever they answer. I don't know, a question that you haven't asked yet. I guess you know what? For me, it's like, what is the grand vision? Like, what's my vision for the future? Like, what do I really see? For example, with Blooprinted, and we call it a moonshot. Like, I don't look at it as a moonshot because I've already laid out the plan to get there. But I want to create 15.1 million unstoppable people to live in the life of their dream by achieving their life of their dreams, by achieving whatever they'd set out to achieve, by giving them the exact granular steps to achieve it. And in doing so, we're going to create a platform, Blooprinted, that's going to be worth to have a valuation of $15.4 billion. And we're not going to exit until we've impacted a significant amount of people. And then we'll exit that company for $15.4 billion. and then I'll go do some other tech, and we'll create another solution to a problem.
Wow. That is definitely an exciting goal. I forgot to ask you also about you have an event coming up, not next month, but in January.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the event?
Yes. So the event, January 19th and 20th, is in Miami. It's a 2-day mastermind around Blueprinted. And if you're a creator, a coach, consultant, trainer, or know how to do something, and you would like to, one, we always talk about giving first, contribute to other people, contribute to us, and share your ideas on how we can make Blueprinted better. But more importantly, how we can build businesses around blueprints and impact lives, and also, of course, monetize. So we're going to get together with some very smart people, some very energetic people, big think people, and we're going to create the most awesome platform, but also create businesses that are 7 figures and up businesses, all through blueprints.
So it's a mastermind January 19th and January 20th. And if somebody wanted to attend that mastermind, what would they walk out on the evening of the 20th? What would they have, what knowledge would they have, or what would they have accomplished during that time?
First and foremost is the connections and the network to the ecosystem that we're creating through the 10X community and the Blueprinted community. So that's huge. I mean, your net worth is your network. Your network is your net worth. So to me, I love the idea of the cross-pollination that's going to take place. Number 2 is the masterminding. If anybody really understands the word mastermind, when you go to a mastermind, it shouldn't be someone there speaking to you the whole time. That's not a mastermind. That's an event or a workshop or something. A mastermind is when people come in together. One person has an idea or problem, and he gets people to ask him questions about it. And then they offer solutions after that person answers the questions or ideas. And we can do this together. So leaving that day, you should have not only your questions answered or problems or challenges solved, but be able to help others and learn from doing so as well and implement that in your life.
I have learned the most by helping others. Other than making mistakes and learning from mistakes, helping others is on like high on the list for me learning.
Right on. Agreed.
So last question for you. What are you the most excited about over the next year? What are you the most excited about?
You know, I love traveling and I love going places. So I love where I live. I live in Maryland, but it gets cold in the wintertime, and I'm a kind of guy, besides my wife and kids, I like variety. I love new things and exciting things, and I'm very spontaneous. So I'm looking forward to traveling and going to places and impacting lives, and really, really like using this tool with Blueprinted to create a movement. This is not a, like, Blueprinted is a platform, but it's not really just a platform, it's a movement. And I want to use it to create these unstoppable people to serve this mission. So that's really, really, really what I'm excited about. And one other thing following behind Blueprinted is a generosity movement that we're starting. And this generosity movement is going to be served by what's called tipperosity. And that's a play on words between tip and generous. Generosity, tipperosity. And tipperosity is going to be a platform where it's going to make it very easy to tip people, and it's going to encourage people to tip more. And we're real excited about that. You're not going to have to have cash to tip anymore or use your credit card necessarily. But it's going to be an app that makes it very easy to tip somebody. A valet, a bellhop, maid, housekeeper, people that deliver furniture, appliances to your house, somebody that washes your car, even your waiter or waitress.
So lots of exciting things, all for the better of the world, it seems like.
Yes. Forces for good.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Mike, on my podcast here, She Hustles. Don't forget to subscribe to She Hustles on Spotify or Apple. And I will be here again next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. I have an amazing guest as well. And so we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rebecca.